The guy was up at 3 a.m. in Nebraska. He's tired. He's come over to Hawaii. And, he wants nothing more than to get picked up, get his bags, get in the van, some AC, have a meal, and maybe hit a mattress. Yeah? Now, I call Eddie, and if you know the airport sometimes, it just gets clogged middle of the day if tourists are either coming in or out. I was going to Terminal 2 at the airport, and Terminal 2 is just backed up all the way back into Terminal 1, right? So where Hawaii Airlines is and you're going into the terminal, just backed up. Now, you know that if you do that loop and you miss the person you're supposed to pick up and that place is packed, how long will it take you to get back to Terminal 2? See, that's been 6 days. This is 6 days, Gary, right? It'll take you, and how many of y'all want to do the second loop? Nobody wants to do the second loop at the airport, right? Nobody says, so you want to time it just right. Like you want to get the person to have their bags to be coming out just at the end so that at the end of Terminal 2, they can get their bags and you can just exit the airport and hit the 1 and be gone, right? That's how you really want to time it out. That's what I want to do. I call Eddie and I say, Eddie, do you have your bags? And I don't know what Eddie told me, but Eddie was like, no, I don't have him yet. I got to go to the curb, and I got too many bags. I need you to come to the curb. I need you to come help me. And I know I'm not going to be able to do that because the curb police are going to come and get me, right? So I need to time it just right for Eddie to have his bags. I'm plotting this. Eddie, do you have your bags? Jonathan, I just need you to be at the curb. Help me. Now, admittedly, 16-hour trip from Nebraska, you can get a little frazzled. Right? It happens. Okay? I remember I told Ed, I said, Ed, I just answer this question for me. Do you have your bags? Why? I'm asking because if Eddie doesn't have his bags, I'm going to park somewhere in Terminal 1, wait until the police come and, tell me to move it along, and then find a different spot to park until the police come tell me to move along until I can time it just right. I hope nobody else is guilty of this sort of civil disobedience. Right? Now, Eddie doesn't know this. Eddie doesn't know also that I have Tiffany in the car with me. And what I'll do is, forgive you, Pastor, but what I'll do is that I'll pull the pregnancy card and have her stay in the van. And then me run out, help Eddie, so that if a police officer comes, like, move, you need to move. I can't do it. I can't go around. Like, all right. This is what I'm hoping. Eddie doesn't know all these pieces, right? I just need some help. I said, Eddie, answer this question. Eddie knows how we operate because we've been doing ministry together for so many years. Just answer my question. You know I'm plotting. You know I'm scheming. He's like, yeah, man, I'm just sorry, right? He's like, so what's going on? I said, well, I got Tiffany in the van. She's going to pull the pregnant card. We're going to get the bags. I'm going to take some bags, take them to the curb. You stay for the second pair, and then you meet me at the curb. I'll call Tiffany. I'll tell her, okay, stop playing the pregnancy card, meet us because we're ready. She'll meet us there right at the same time. We won't have to do the second loop, and Bob's your uncle. All right, cool. And you know how it worked out? Just like we planned it. Some of y'all think, no, it worked out. Right? This was an A-team sort of scenario, if some of y'all older folk get that reference. Love it when a plan comes together. All right? This was an A-team sort of scenario. And it all worked out. Eddie's my man. I love him like I love my family. He's my family. And he knows because of the trust we have with one another and ministry and doing things that when I can ask him a request like, Ed, I need you to do this, and he doesn't have the full picture, because of the relationship that we have, you know that Ed is the sort of brother that'll do something for me and for the ministry and for a cause without having the full picture. But do you know why? I think over the course of 5 years, he's known that he can trust me. And that when I ask him to do something, it's because I've been scheming for a while already. And so I'm asking him to execute this small little thing that's fundamentally necessary, and he knows he doesn't have to have the whole picture. You with me? Obedience of faith. Obedience of faith. Hebrews chapter 11. Watch this. I want to start in verse 4. I want you to see the differences here real quick. It's 11:54. I'm done in like 9 minutes. Maybe 11. I promised Brandy I'd try to hit that 12:05 mark. Obedience of faith, Hebrews 11. Are you there with me? Verse 4. I want you to see something real quick. We're just compare and contrast. Verse 4. By faith, Abel offered to God a more acceptable sacrifice than Cain, through which he was commended as righteous, God commending him by accepting his gifts, and through his faith, though he, what's the word there? What did Abel do by faith? He, help me out here. It might be till 12:08 if we don't respond here. Abel, it starts with a D. Abel died. Abel did what? Died by faith. The end was his death. By faith, Abel dies, and by faith, Enoch lives. You see that? By faith, Abel dies, and by faith, Enoch lives. Verse 7. We're going to skip down to verse 7. By faith, Noah, being warned by God concerning events as yet unseen, in reverent fear constructed an ark for the saving of his household. My beloved, look at that verse. Look at that. Look how that verse begins. By faith, Noah, being warned by God concerning events as yet unseen. He hadn't seen it. He doesn't know the totality of these circumstances. He's given a glimpse, and then he's given instruction, and he obeys by faith in reverent fear, and he's commended. He becomes an heir of righteousness. Why? Because he hears the word of the Lord and obeys. Now I want you to see something. Noah remains where he's planted and he preaches. You see that? Noah remains where he's planted and he preaches. Look at verse 8. By faith, Abraham obeyed, and he was called to go out to a place that he was to receive an inheritance, and he went out not knowing where he was going. So Abel dies. Enoch lives. Noah remains and builds. Abraham leaves and obeys. See, if we start comparing and we start having like our vision of how we think it ought to go, all of a sudden it may fall apart, because the obedience of faith for my life might look a little different for the obedience faith of Jorge's life, yeah? But yet, the ground of it is what God has instructed each and every single one of us. And as we receive that revelation and are instructed in what he wants for us, we walk it out by faith. And I know that there's this place where we can look at our lives and we start turning, and what about this? And what about that? But the question is, are we being obedient because of faith? I could go through the rest of Hebrews chapter 11 and demonstrate to you that for faith there is a certain ground. I'll cut to the chase to what that ground is, and if you've listened to me preach, you know where I'm going. Go to Luke 17. The obedience of faith. The obedience, a well-known passage, verse 5. Luke 17, verse 5. I'm in the book of Luke, chapter 17, verse 5. So far, we're talking about the obedience of faith. Don't want you to compare to others, but listen to what the Lord's got for you. Watch this. The apostle said to the Lord, you there in verse 5 with me? The apostle said to the Lord, increase our faith. Maybe that's what you're saying to yourself. Well, Jonathan, I agree with you. I want to be obedient. I want to be obedient. I want to turn from 2022 into 2023 and obey the word of the Lord for my life. But I think, Jonathan, what I'm missing is that I need an increase of faith to actually know what God is calling me to. Yeah? Look at this. The apostles had the same heart cry. They said, Lord, increase our faith. And then God, Jesus, responds with a phrase that we all know well. He says, if you had faith like a grain of mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, be uprooted and planted in the sea, and it would obey you. Now there we start thinking, oh, man, maybe I don't even have faith like a little mustard seed. Yeah? I want to offer you that Jesus is being hyperbolic here. That it's hyperbole. He's like, oh, you want an increased faith. You want a big, big faith. You want a big, big faith so that you can obey. If you had a little itty-bitty thing, you'd do well. Then he gives this illustration. Verse 7, if you're there with me, Luke 17, verse 7. Here's the illustration. Will any of you who has a servant plowing or keeping sheep say to him, when he has come in from the field, come at once and recline at table? So this is a master who sees a servant, and he sees that servant, and Jesus is saying, listen, if you're a master and you have a servant, will you tell them when you come in, like, hey, come and recline at the table? Jesus is like, no, you won't do that. Will you not rather say to him, prepare supper for me, dress properly, serve me while I eat and drink, and then afterwards you'll eat and drink? So Jesus is saying, listen, if you're a master and you have servants, you don't tell them, hey, come join me at the table, hey, let's hang out. No, you tell them what to do. And then they do it. Verse 9, does he thank the servant because he did what was commanded? Verse 10, so you also, when you have done all that you were commanded, say, we are unworthy servants. We have only done what was our duty. Unworthy servants only doing our duty. That's strong, isn't it? Jesus localizes the obedience of faith in this simple thing. You ready for it? Doing what you're told. Every time I tell them, oh, I'm following this thing, like, yeah, they laugh, right? I saw that look, Lisa. They're like, oh, that's so cute, Jonathan. Look at Jesse, just like, yeah, wait for it, bro. Wait if you're going to be able to do the tips after you're all sleep deprived, right? But I've been following, right? And I'm like, yeah, babe, we're going to do this. But I know that at some point, I'm going to revert back to my upbringing. The way my mama brought me up, I'm going to revert to with Charlie. And you know the way my mama brought me up? I think you know where I'm going. Do what you're told. Yeah? Has there been those times, parents? Yeah, Shahad? Yeah? Good. Hey, do what you're told. This is the obedience of faith, my beloved. Into 2022, into 2023, and this maybe seems like a heavy sermon, but do what you're told. Do what you're told. What are you told? What are you told? Let me give you a few options of what you're told in 2023. You ready? I know the plans I have for you, saith the Lord. Plans to prosper you, to give you a hope and a future. You will call upon me, I'll be your God. Show favor upon you. Believe in me. Do what you're told. Here's something else the Lord is calling us to. Believe that every single blessing in the heavenly places is yours, and live like you're sealed in the Holy Spirit. Do what you're told. What does that look like? It looks like this. All the love of God has been bestowed upon you, and it belongs to each and every single one of us through the Spirit, so that in 2023, he promises he will never leave us, he will never forsake us, and that yea, though we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, he will be with us. So when 2023 starts pressing, what do we believe? We believe what we've been told. And then how do we live and move? Do what we're told. The obedience of faith is believing the promises of God and living from them. Jesus believed that he would be raised from the dead, so he did what he was told. Jesus believed that he was the Son of God, and so he did what he was told. He went into the wilderness. Abel